In 1969, a group of astronauts changed the world. They walked on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In 1972, our journey ended. We've never been back. 2010 begins a year of change. Private companies are working on next-generation spaceships. Governments are looking to go back to the moon and on to Mars. It's time to look up and dream again. It's time to push humans into the cosmos. It's time to educate and engage the planet. It's time for Spacevidcast.
Welcome to Spacevidcast 321 for Friday, June 18th, 2010. You gotta come in this way. What's going on?
I'm sorry,
there?
I'm matching my jacket. I'm sorry.
Wow, you do. Look at that.
Okay, go on.
My name is Benjamin Higginbotham. With me, as always, is a beautiful, lovely, wonderful, and talented Carrie Ann Higginbotham. We will be your hosts this evening for an action-packed, fluffy-sode of space. It is. It's the most. Should we start with the more newsy item, or should we start with the fluff?
I don't know. I don't. That's a hard one.
We're going to start with some space news.
Space news.
So, how many people remember the Iridium network?
Not me.
Okay, this is
This
is going back a ways. This is a satellite network for phones. It was what it was originally designed to be. It was
Okay.
a billion-dollar satellite infrastructure. It was pretty awesome, and then nothing ever really came of it, and it sold for pennies on the dollar.
Okay.
I knew that we still had the Iridium satellites up there, and I know someone had bought them. We were kind of using them basically, I think, for government stuff and some basic phone stuff. But I thought basically it was, yeah, exactly, as the chat room saying, you can watch Iridium flares. You can actually see the satellites streaking across the sky. They're known as Iridium flares. They're kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
But I just figured, those phones haven't been updated in years. They're still the old giant, sat phones like you see in movies where they take the antenna and like this giant antenna, like, hello, I'm the bad guy. I've got a sat phone. Right, one of those.
Right.
So I just figured, they'll do what they do. They'll let the network die, and off you go.
Right.
I had no idea these guys were actually still around. Terrible of me, I know, but they are.
Yeah. No, I was telling Ben about SpaceX just won the Iridium contract, and he was like, "What? They're still around?" And I was like, well, "That's what it says." I don't. Yeah. Which apparently, is the largest single commercial launch deal ever signed, which is huge. That's huge for SpaceX.
It's like almost $500 million. What's the?
It's like 6.8 per sat. So it's Let me double check on the numbers there. Hold on. Ooh. Oh, good job with that.
Ooh, that's a newbie mistake. I just want to point out, so I've got my new Evo phone. I will not be going to the iPhone 4. And one thing you learn very early on in broadcasting school is the moment you start a show, silence your phone. Oops.
Really? You learned that in broadcasting school way before everyone had cell phones?
Yes.
That's impressive. Broadcasting was really smart.
I had a cell phone in broadcasting school. You forgot too, didn't you?
You did.
It's a night of forgetting to silence our phones.
Oh no,
All right.
mine's silenced.
So SpaceX won this giant contract.
Yeah, $492 million.
So just under $500 million. Right? Nice.
Yeah.
They've already gotten some of that money. They've got 19 million of it.
Right.
Because Iridium basically is what's the parent company?
So
Iridium Communications Inc.
Yeah.
Iridium is on NASDAQ.
Yeah, exactly. They did some chopping around. They didn't just go with SpaceX. They did talk with the Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO, and I love this name of this, the China Great Wall Industry Corporation.
That is a pretty cool name.
And they talked with all three of them, and SpaceX clearly came in as
way under.
Yeah, way under. So some people are saying spacenews.com is saying that SpaceX way undercut the competition, and that's how they won this contract.
But that's kind of the cool thing about SpaceX is that their system is designed to get cheaper over time. It's supposed to be recoverable for certain stages, and just kind of reuse the exact same parts between the different vehicles.
Right.
It's kind of what space should be. I mean, not to be a big old SpaceX fanboy over here, but it makes sense. And while they may I don't know their financials, so I'm speculating here, but they may lose money on the first few launches.
Right.
I think the hope would be that eventually they're actually making money on those launches, even at 6 point something million per launch?
It's like 6.8.
Which is, not a lot of money to put a satellite into orbit. That's straight up, it's not.
It sounds like it's a 2-year contract starting in 2015. Which is kind of cool. And it's all for Iridium Next.
Anyone know what Iridium Next is, and how do I get a phone? Is it still a phone network?
Is that what you want?
I want an Iridium Next phone. In fact, I'm not moving to the iPhone 4. I'm moving to the Iridium Next phone. I want a sat phone. That way, I can't accept any phone calls when I'm indoors.
That's kind of funny.
It's going to be great. Actually, there is a really cool sat phone. We covered it a while ago. There's one of the most powerful phone satellites is by TerraStar, I think it is. And they've got a smartphone that doesn't have the giant satellite antenna. And so it looks like just a Windows mobile device. And that's the downside is Windows mobile device. It's like, really, guys? Really? Windows mobile? But it's just like, it looks like a regular phone, but it's actually a sat phone. And it can jump between the GSM network and the satellite network.
Yeah,
and
which
so
was really
you
cool.
pretty much have coverage on 98% of the planet. And if you're...
Tell them about when we tried it.
No, we tried a different one.
Oh, darn.
So
Sorry.
we tried one that was on a different, come on, we're geeks, right? So we did try a sat phone, and it was on one of the networks that's degraded. And so it was kind of cool because we were in New Mexico. I think we were doing the NGLC, and we wanted to make sure we had phone service. So we actually had a satellite phone, and it was kind of neat.
I'm sorry, I'm still reading just to make sure, trying to find the information, but I'm not finding it fast enough.
Yeah, what Iridium Next is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. Someone will figure it out. All right. So moving on to the fluffy part of Spacevidcast. If that wasn't fluffy enough for you, I got to tell you, this stuff is cool though. It may be fluffy, but it's freaking cool. This is the phone episode. Just so y'all know, this is the phone episode of Spacevidcast.
Yeah.
The Rocket Racing League
Yes.
has released their app in the App Store.
Yeah, they're not leaguing yet,
They're not leaguing.
but they have an app.
They've got the pre-league app. I don't know what to call that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
It is a game that you can download for they're what?
PLA.
The PLA, the pre-league app.
Yes. We have a TLA for the PLA.
PLA. It's a app that you can download for $2.99 in the App Store. They've got a demo video in HD. Check it out. Don't you want that?
Well, the other cool thing is, and I was trying to read the chat room a little bit, so I might have missed them mentioning it, but it also acts as a mini news feed for the Rocket Racing League. So it's not just this game, which looks really cool, and you can customize all the stuff and shoot down people and leaderboard and the Facebook stuff, but you'll also get up-to-date information on Rocket Racing League and what they're doing.
And the Rocket Racing League, for those who don't know, is basically like NASCAR in the skies. It's taking the awesome parts of NASCAR, the awesome parts of rockets, slamming them together into one uber sport that is you saw a lot of that in the game, and what's going to be, it's not just innovative in a sports standpoint, but they're also innovating from a broadcast standpoint as well, where you as a viewer, you can actually watch and see the 3D objects like those
like the rings and
the
stuff.
rings that you saw, you'll actually see those on the screen in the real Rocket Racing League when you're watching in television, and on the webcast you can choose your views. And here's where it gets even cooler, because you can do some of that today, right, with NFL and they've got the lines and on the ground. This is just
which everyone's used to now. If you
right.
go to it live and in person, you're like, what's going on?
Where's the line? Where's the line? But this is more advanced in that it's three-dimensional in space and tracked by the camera. So as they pan the cameras, the racetrack will be showing in the sky, which, okay, that's cool. But then on top of that, they're planning to make it so that you can race actual rocket racers in their games. So they're going to link their games, like all their television and media, their webcasting, and the real-life sport all together. This is going to be awesome.
This is going to be very cool.
No, there's still a ways out. It's not like this is coming up next month. They're still testing the tech and getting the funding in place and all that fun jazz. But oh my gosh.
And I just want to say really quickly, they're not paying us to say any of this stuff. We really are this excited about it. And then the other thing is that this is a Diamantis production.
Oh my God, that is great.
I really do believe in this.
Foundation.
Right, I really do believe in this coming to be.
ISU. A Diamantis production.
Because there's a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people who would say stuff like this, or it sounds like a good idea, or doesn't sound like fun for 30-30. But this is, like I said, this is a Diamantis production, and I really do believe that this is going to come to be quite quickly, a lot faster than I think people are kind of giving them credit for.
Here's why I think it's cool, is because we're all about human space flight, and we do our best to get people engaged, but fundamentally we attract other space geeks first and foremost.
Right.
The top of the pyramid. And then, it trickles down a little bit, and we get some people excited. I think a geek mom kind of saw that there were other geeks on the internet, and she started doing some Twitter stuff, not solely because of us, but I think we helped, I would like to think.
Even our director's almost interested in space now.
Almost. We're getting them there. So, it rubs off on people, but imagine the effect that Rocket Racing League is going to have on human space flight when people start looking at, because it's not space flight, but it's still rockets, and people are going to look at that and go, well, how do we take this to the next step?
Right.
And they can use it kind of as a way to jam open the door a little bit and get people to start thinking. Because when the mass populace says this is something we want to do, we want human space flight, our congressional leaders, I believe, will listen. And I think that fundamentally, it only takes one voice to change the world, but that one voice can build an army of other people who have the same voice. So,
all the same voice?
A Diamantis production.
A Diamantis production.
All right, let's go to break before we come back with the other.
The other fluff?
Yeah, I don't really want to watch the other video.
There's more cotton candy in this episode.
There is. I don't want to watch the other video. But actually, before we go to break, Coaster Ghost in the chat room did bring up the Iridium Next stuff, and there's a video. It's a 2-minute video. I'm not going to play it, but you can go to iridium.com/about/iridiumnext.aspx, so their .NET shop, and basically it says it's bringing enhanced global voice and data connectivity. And here's what's cool about Iridium: 100% global penetration. So they're hitting the poles, which most of the networks don't do.
Yeah, that is
they
pretty
go around.
huge.
So 100% global penetration.
Thanks to SpaceX.
And thanks in small.
Well,
right? Maybe, we don't know yet.
You can make as many satellites as you want. You can't get those birds in the air. It's not going to matter.
But summing this up, it feels like they're really putting an emphasis on data for Iridium Next, which could be really cool, especially for a broadcasting show like Spacevidcast, where we're out in the middle of the desert and there's no data access, and all we need is a data feed to broadcast. So Iridium, here we come. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
exploration. It's driven us around the world, across vast oceans, and even into space.
We set sail on this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained.
Explorers like Christopher Columbus, Lewis and Clark, Amelia Earhart, Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin. Space shuttle astronauts like Sally Ride, working to make the impossible possible. Projects like Apollo, the International Space Station, robotic missions to all the planets in the solar system, and back here on Earth, developing incredible technologies like the internet. When we explore, we find our future. When you explore, you'll find your future too. We've been to the moon. 12 people have walked there, but that's only the beginning. We landed on the moon with primitive technology. A simple cell phone today has more power. How will you use that power? One day, it will be easy for you to go into space in a new generation of spaceships. You may even go to Mars to set up a base. Maybe one of you will venture to the red planet and look back at the Earth. Or live and work in a base on the moon. Or go to other places beyond your wildest imagination. You'll use technology that hasn't even been invented yet. Find solutions that we can't comprehend right now. And look at math and science in new ways. The fact is, anything is possible. You decide the future.
When we were in break, Fun NASA on Twitter mentioned, Rocket Racing League is cool, but it's still too on Earth. He wants to have a X-Wing fighter. And you know, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Rocket Racing League in space would be even more awesome. Imagine that, having cameras like positioned pointed back at Earth and having those rocket shots going around the Earth, but baby steps. You don't just jump from NASCAR to space races, although cool. You gotta kind of work your way up there.
Right.
But imagine what the DMS productions are going to be able to pull off with just to the starting point. Now they've never said we're going to space, by the way. That's just us dreaming.
Right.
But it seems like a logical next step down the road. And what a great way to get mere mortals excited about human spaceflight.
For sure.
Absolutely. It kind of makes sci-fi feel more sci-fact. Wow. Is that a tinted window or is the sky really that color?
No, the sky's really that color. We've been having a lot of different storms lately, so sorry about that.
If we suddenly go off the air, that's because the building blew over from a tornado. The sky is literally green. All right.
It's not a good color, but we're ignoring that right now.
So speaking of things that are awkward to look at, you want to do the tooth one?
Okay, so I know a lot of you guys have already seen this, and I know that it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with spaceflight per se, but all I'm saying is that if this is the way my parents decided to extract teeth from my mouth, I probably would have been interested in space a long time ago.
Or you would be running from it. I have terrible memories.
So, yeah, as you can see, it's a model rocket that I'm sure most people can get at home.
The kid with
way
the rocket
too much
tooth.
floss.
A geek ma'am hasn't shown her daughter yet.
And said child with said tooth.
Hey, Jimmy.
Oh, you know right where this is going.
Doing?
Oh, it's awesome.
Huh?
I'm getting my tooth out.
And how are you going to do that?
Doing the rocket.
You're going to fire a rocket off?
Yeah.
And the rocket's tied to your tooth?
Yeah.
All right. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay. You got to push that button really hard till that lights up. And then when it lights up, you have to push that one. Okay, you ready? Go.
Awkward.
At least you mostly have the...
Don't do that, Daddy. Daddy, don't do
You just pulled your tooth out with a rocket. Okay, you're bleeding.
Yeah, it was really
You see
fast.
the rocket? I don't see it either. I'm too busy laughing.
He totally needed 2 cameras on that. He needed one on the kid and one on the rocket. Oh,
He probably didn't even think it was going to work.
Well, you know what? It certainly pulled your tooth out now, didn't it?
Yeah.
Hopefully we could find the tooth, but I doubt we're going to be able to find it.
Jeff, I think worded it perfectly in the chat room. Good stuff. He wasn't sure if he needed to cry.
Right? Right? I had a principal who had to take a tooth out for me. And he was like, so how's your mom and dad? And I was like, oh, they did. And he just yanked it. And I didn't even, because I wasn't focusing on it. It wasn't one of those 1, 2. It just happened.
Yep.
You know, nothing. So sure, all the kid knows is that he presses a button and kind of goes, and it's gone. And for sure, that's totally the correct reaction.
All right, how about let's close this show
good
out
heavens.
with some newsy news.
Some newsy news.
That's a highly technical term. You're gonna have to introduce this because I have to log into a computer so we can show the video. It's a long story. Post show.
Okay, so the Orion spacecraft, which Orion crew module, that's what I'm trying to say, is being built. It's coming together. It's doing its thing.
The escape version, not the full version.
Right, sorry, I know. See, this is why you shouldn't have me introducing some of these things, because I apparently don't know what I'm saying. So the bulkhead and the nose cone was part of the NASA picture of the day, today or yesterday, something along those lines, the last couple of days. And the thing is that there's this cool machine thing that says, you know, it's welding these 2 parts together. And I was like, well, it's beautiful. I don't know, did you grab the picture?
No, I don't have the picture, but if you go to card 2, Kath, go to card 2, which is the Mac Pro, the guest computer. Here you go. Here is the stir welding, right?
Yeah.
All right, here you go. So there's the stir welding.
So the thing is that, you know, I'm looking at the picture and I was like, well, that doesn't really look like welding to me, but maybe it's just me. And this is the kind of welding that they're doing, and it's called friction stir welding. And that spinny part is doing the welding. And as you notice, it's not really melting the 2 pieces together at all. It almost looks like it's making a divot kind of thing. And yeah, there you go. What it's doing is that it's hitting the pieces together at such a friction that they're what they call plasticizing together. So the metals aren't actually melting to form one piece. They're plasticizing enough to just sort of share molecules, I guess, or something, and then it just becomes this solid piece. It's like the coolest thing. Like, I can't even get over how awesome this is.
And this was actually one of the big advantages of Constellation and the next generation space travels. Now, rather than using this, 30-year-old manufacturing technology, they can actually use, oddly enough, space-age manufacturing technology to build spacecrafts and create these. Do you still call it a weld at that point?
Well, I mean, it's still what it is. I mean, that's a different kind of welding is what it is. I mean, you're still putting 2 pieces together.
So my understanding is that there's a lot less variation in the metal, and it's a lot stronger. It's a lot safer.
It's like having a solid piece.
Yeah. So it's just a better manufacturing technique, and that's just one of the advantages of moving to a next generation vehicle. Ironically, though, the big thing behind Constellation was that it was supposed to use the existing
right
space shuttle technologies.
Oops.
But they wanted to move to all this new manufacturing stuff,
right.
which means you can't use the existing space shuttle stuff because that's all you use, the old manufacturing stuff. So while it looked like the old space shuttle stuff, it wasn't the old space shuttle stuff. So anyhow, But
I thought that was very cool.
That is cool. And I think SpaceX uses the similar technique where they're just spinning things, and they've got an incredible video. You know what? Stall for a moment. I think there's a video on their site I want to show you. Hang on.
Okay, so we're stalling. Anyway, but no,
Dance!
I thought
Dance!
the process is used by NASA's McCloud assembly facility. It doesn't actually melt the metal, like we said, or apply any heat to it itself. It's all friction and pressure. And it's usually used on aluminum, is kind of one of the best, I guess, materials for this. But they keep the original characteristics of the metal unchanged. I don't know. The whole thing is just very, very cool, I think. Yeah, visible, but doesn't have like that bump, like when you're welding something and you kind of have that, the metal melts, if that makes any sense.
I can't find it. There's a video, I'll just tell you guys where to go. If you go to SpaceX's website, they've got the canisters where they keep the pressurized gases and fuels and whatnot, and there's a video of them, basically taking two halves and turning it into one. And normally you stick it together and you create this weld, whereas they just kind of spin them together, and it's kind of cool. So that's on the just SpaceX.com for that information. All right. Any other cool news items and whatnot? I think that was everything for this particular show. Fluffy.
Yeah.
Fluffy show.
Gosh, I thought that there was something else really quick, but no, I can't remember what it was.
No, we did that.
No, I know we did all of this. It was like something that I meant to put in and I didn't.
That's all right. I just want to thank everyone for watching the live show. I know we had a guest lined up for tonight, but last minute circumstance kicked in. We'll try to bring him on for a future show. It'll be awesome. And you guys all stick around. If you're watching live, we'll go into post show for a few minutes and just kind of talk with you and have a fun continuing conversation. If you didn't notice last week's show, we included post show for everyone.
Yes.
So you did not have to be an Epic subscriber. We still formatted it like Epic and whatnot, but did not need to be an Epic subscriber to watch last week's post show because I thought that it was a really good post show and that everyone should have access to it. And it's just kind of a taste. I know.
Thanks, Beth.
I'm so sweet.
Aww.
It's just a little taste of what Epic post shows are like. And it's just one small thing that you get with an Epic subscription. Not only do you get the post shows, for things like STS-132, you got like someone help me out. Was it 3 gigs of like downloadable content?
It was
like PDF files and posters and just really cool stuff that you got with STS-132. You get additional lengthened interviews. You get additional lengthened clips. You get the raw downloads of a lot of these clips that you can't get on any other site, as far as I know. The original raw MPEG-2 files off of the satellite without any branding or anything else, just straight off the satellite. It looks beautiful. 720p 60. It's like 12.5 megabits per second. Looks gorgeous. So absolutely consider purchasing Spacevidcast Epic at spacevidcast.com/epic, and it's what helps us do what we do. I'd like to thank everyone for watching us this week. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's Friday at 2 a.m. Coordinated Universal Time for those of you in the U.S. That's Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 8 Mountain, 9 Central, and 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I was doing all of that in my head.
8,
all I had to do was add
10.
1 to each one, but instead I tried to calculate the offset for each one of them in my head for some reason. See you next week.
It's time to look up. It's time to look up. In 1969, the astronauts changed. In 1970, our journey. We've never.
Welcome to Spacevidcast 321 for Friday, June 18th, 2010. You gotta come in this way. What's going on?
I'm sorry,
there?
I'm matching my jacket. I'm sorry.
Wow, you do. Look at that.
Okay, go on.
My name is Benjamin Higginbotham. With me, as always, is a beautiful, lovely, wonderful, and talented Carrie Ann Higginbotham. We will be your hosts this evening for an action-packed, fluffy-sode of space. It is. It's like it's the most. Should we start with the more newsy item, or should we start with the fluff?
I don't know. I don't. That's a hard one.
We're going to start with some space news.
Space news.
So, how many people remember the Iridium network?
Not me.
Okay, this is
Not it.
This is going back a ways. This is a satellite network for phones. It was what it was originally designed to be. It was a $1 billion satellite infrastructure. It was pretty awesome, and then nothing ever really came of it, and it sold for pennies on the dollar.
Okay.
I knew that we still had the Iridium satellites up there, and I know someone had bought them. We were kind of using them basically, I think, for government stuff and some basic phone stuff. But I thought basically it was, yeah, exactly as the chat room saying, you can watch Iridium flares. You can actually see the satellites, streaking across the sky. They're known as Iridium flares. They're kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
But I just figured, those phones haven't been updated in years. They're still the old giant.
In 1969, a group of astronauts changed the world. They walked on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In 1972, our journey ended. We've never been back. 2010 begins a year of change. Private companies are working on next-generation spaceships. Governments are looking to go back to the moon and on to Mars. It's time to look up and dream again. It's time to push humans into the cosmos. It's time to educate and engage the planet. It's time for Spacevidcast.
And one thing you learn very early on in broadcasting schools, the moment you start a show, silence your phone. Oops.
Really? You learned that in broadcasting school way before everyone had cell phones?
Yes.
That's impressive. Broadcasting was really smart.
I had a cell phone in broadcasting school. You forgot too, didn't you?
You did.
It's a night of forgetting to silence our phones.
Oh no,
All right.
mine's silenced.
So SpaceX won this giant contract.
Yeah, it's $492 million.
So just under $500 million. Right? Nice.
Yeah.
They've already gotten some of that money. They've got 19 million of it.
Right.
Because Iridium basically is what's the parent company?
So
Iridium Communications Inc.
Yeah.
Iridium is on NASDAQ.
Yeah, exactly. They did some chopping around. They didn't just go with SpaceX. They did talk with the Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO, and I love this name of this, the China Great Wall Industry Corporation.
That is a pretty cool name. And sat phones, like you see in movies where they take the antenna and like this giant antenna, like, hello, I'm the bad guy, I've got a sat phone. Right, one of those.
Right.
So I just figured, they'll do what they do, they'll let the network die, and off you go.
Right.
I had no idea these guys were actually still around. Terrible of me, I know, but they are.
Yeah, no, I was telling Ben about SpaceX just won the Iridium contract, and he was like, what? They're still around? And I was like, that's what it says. I don't, yeah. Which apparently, is the largest single commercial launch deal ever signed, which is huge. That's huge for SpaceX.
It's like almost $500 million. What's the?
It's like 6.8 per sat. So it's, let me double check on the numbers there. Hold on. Ooh. Oh, good job with that.
Ooh, that's a newbie mistake. I just want to point out, so I've got my new Evo phone. I will not be going to the iPhone 4.